Assalamu alaikum. Students, this is Hassan Butt, your tutor, instructor, mentor, facilitator. Today, we are going to talk about chapter number 20 of O-level business studies. And that is the first chapter we are going to go through in this term. As you are in senior 3, so we'll start from chapter number 20 of the textbook. And that is cost, scale of production, and break-even analysis. So before we get into it, we need to understand what are costs, or rather, what are business costs. So business costs are expenses of the business, like the money which you spend to run a business, to start a business, to support business operations. For example, you pay wages to workers so that they can work in a factory, for example, to produce goods. That is a business cost. You pay a rent of the building, for example, where you operate. Again, that is a business cost. You pay electricity bill, utility bills, transport cost, all are business costs. And without spending money on business costs, business can't be run, or operations cannot be done. All right. So there are different types of costs. Now you understand what are business costs. We need to understand what are the various types of business costs which are involved in it. First is fixed cost. Fixed cost, as the name suggests, it is a cost which does not change with a change in the number of units produced or units sold. Take an example. If I talk about rent of the building, so it does not matter whether you produce more or less, you pay the same rent of that building, right, as a business owner. This is fixed cost. Similarly, let's say if you are running a retailing business like a shop where you sell goods and you are paying a certain amount of rent of that shop. Again, it is a fixed cost because it does not matter whether you sell more or less. You have to pay the same amount of money to pay that cost, right? So fixed cost has nothing to do with the number of units sold or the number of units produced. On the contrary, there is a variable cost as well, another type of business cost. And as the name suggests, that it varies with the amount of units produced or units sold. Okay. So contrary to fixed cost, where fixed cost remains the same, variable cost does change with the number of units produced or sold. Now, example could be raw material. So let's say if you are running a factory and you require raw material. So let's say you manufacture tables. So to manufacture tables, let's say you require raw material, wood. So if you produce or manufacture more tables, you require more raw material that would be used to manufacture tables, right? It means that the cost of raw material will increase if you manufacture more tables because more raw material would be required, like wood. And if you produce less raw material will be used to manufacture tables in that case, and less will be the variable cost as well, because cost of raw material is a variable cost. I won't give you other examples because there is a question regarding the examples of variable cost, and you would be doing it and you will be taking it from your daily life. Okay. And then another term which is used, which is related to business cost, that is total cost. What is total cost? It is the sum of all costs. So as we just discussed, that there are two types of costs, fixed cost and variable cost. So if we add all the costs together, we get total cost. Okay, there are some semi-variable costs as well, but it is not part of O-level business syllabus. That is why I won't talk about it. The old name of that subject was business studies. So, but now the name is business. All right. So total cost is the sum of fixed cost and variable cost. Whatever the cost that is involved in running a business, in setting up a business, in buying machinery, if you add them together, you'll get total cost. Okay, now we need to understand why to know about cost data. Why it is important to identify what are business costs. And there are many purposes behind it. It is very crucial to identify what are business different costs. The reason is, one could be the business needs to calculate profit or loss, and you know that you can only calculate profit or loss when you subtract cost from revenue. Revenue, understand, na? The money you get by selling products, and the cost is the amount of money you spend to produce it, right? So the money you get from selling products, okay, that is the total amount you obtain. So if you subtract the amount you spent on it to produce it, right, you get profit. So you need to see whether business is running at a profit or loss. So that is why business cost data is important. Similarly, you need to set a price for a product as well. So let's say if in a market where there is intense competition there, and you have to reduce your price, so you need to see that what would be your lowest level. Because if you know your cost data, you cannot charge a price below your cost. You know that. So that is why you need to see that how much price can be reduced to stay competitive in the market. But you can't do so, like you cannot drop your price below the cost. Otherwise, you will be suffering losses and there will be a problem. Similarly, you need to see the business cost to identify whether your cost is increasing or not. If your cost is increasing, it means it is an alarming sign, because in the future you might have financial issues. You might not have sufficient amount of cash to run your business activities, right? So you need to understand what is your business cost on regular basis or on monthly basis, so that you can arrange finance or cash beforehand, so that it won't affect the daily operations of the business. Or if it is increasing significantly, then you need to control it. You need to control your cost so that you can run your business successfully without facing any financial constraints, right? So that is all for today. We have discussed business costs, the usefulness of business costs, why business cost data is important, the different types of business costs as well. There is one other type as well, that is average cost. Okay, I didn't discuss that. An average cost is per unit cost. And how do we calculate it? Total cost divided by number of units produced. So what do we get? We get cost of producing 1 unit. And this is also important. Why? Because you need to set a price. If you exactly know that the price of the cost per unit is, let's say, $10, so you can charge $11 or $12, right? So average cost is important to set a price that can give you profit. If you do not know your average cost, how can you set a price for a product? Let's say you have no idea, your cost per unit cost is $15 and you charge $10. Is it possible? It is not viable. You can't be successful as a business at all. So that is average cost per unit, or cost of producing 1 unit. So that is it. And now I'll be discussing some of the questions which I am going to give it to you, and you'll be doing it as a home assignment, right? But before that, I need to tell you about how to attempt those questions. For example, if I talk about the first question is about define the term total cost. It's easier. Okay, and look at the command word define. Command word is the word through which examiner conveys the students what are the assessment objectives to be achieved. What are those assessment objectives? Those objectives, if you achieve them, you will be rewarded on that basis. Like examiner assesses you or evaluates you on the basis of objectives set in each question. And how do you get to know what are the different assessment objectives are part of each question? By looking at the command word, and which is usually at the start of the question. That is, like in this question, there is the command word define. Whenever command word define is there, it is usually of 2 marks, and there are only marks for knowledge. And what is knowledge, by the way? Knowledge is when you show information or something which is part of syllabus content, which is stored in your memory after going through the syllabus content. It could be a definition, it could be an advantage, a disadvantage, a feature, characteristic, a point without development, okay, or a definition. that could be your knowledge. So define the term total cost requires knowledge only. If you write accurate definition, you'll get 2 marks for it. And I told you, if there is a formula for a particular business concept, even if you write that formula, you'll get 2 marks. Remember, you do not need to define that term. Like total cost has a formula. I just explained you. Okay. So you can go through the video again and you will get that formula. If you write the formula, you will get 2 marks because examiner says that formula properly describes or defines a business concept. Okay, then we have identify 2 examples of variable cost. Again, another question, and the command word, that is identify. So whenever this command word is there, there are always marks for knowledge. Remember, okay? And you do not need any explanation. Just list 2 points or 4 points depending on the statement of the question. You'll get all the marks without explanation. Here the question says identify 2 examples of variable cost. If you give 2 examples, you'll get 2 marks. Simple. Okay, third question is explain 2 uses of cost data to a business. I just explained what is the usefulness of cost data to a business. Now here in this case, I am going to give you a business scenario. Remember, so it won't be about our business. I'll be talking about a certain business and I'll give you the required information of that business, okay, to do that question. Okay, why? Because here the command word is explain. Remember, when the command word explain is there, it is usually of 6 marks. Okay, in fact, it is always of 6 marks. And there are 2 marks for knowledge, there are 2 marks for application, and 2 for analysis. Knowledge, you understand. You mention 2 uses, you'll get 2 marks because there will be 2 segments, right? Use 1, use 2, right? And there will be space for explanation as well. So when you write use 1 and then use 2, you'll get 2 marks for knowledge, right? Okay, then you have to earn analysis marks. What is analysis? When you develop your point, okay? Okay, whatever point you mentioned, you need to convert it as an advantage to the business which is discussed in the information which will be given to you at the start of the question, right? I'll be sharing it. So you will relate your answer if you develop your point in a way that the advantage is visible, that how it would be advantageous to a business. So convert that point into an advantage and show the effect on the business, that how this could be an advantage to a business. So if you develop your point, this would be your explanation. Remember, analysis is all about showing the impact on business, employees, community, government. It can be on anything, but it all depends on the statement of the question. Right now, the statement is about the business. So the impact should be shown on the business. That would be your analysis, showing the impact by developing that point. And if you relate your answer with the information which is given at the start of the question, a business scenario that would be given to you, I will give it to you. If you relate it with that information with your answer, you'll get marks for application. In fact, 1 word is enough, right? But do not use the same word in the same question. Otherwise, you will lose mark for application. Okay? Find different words or different piece of information that can be used for other segment, that is used to, right? So for one segment, you will get 1 mark for knowledge, 1 for application, 1 for analysis. Similarly, for second segment, that is used to, you will get another mark for knowledge, another for analysis, and another for application. This is how you will be getting 6 marks. I hope you got the understanding. So if there is any confusion, do let me know. The WhatsApp group is there. You can send me your query. I'll answer it. All right. So see you in the next class.